Hey, Steve from themusespot.com. Today we're going to be talking about a couple movements in the design world based upon Scandinavian art class, Art Nouveau and mid-century modernism. Now, don't worry about the nomenclature here. Just enjoy and appreciate some of this great stuff that we got. We're going to go a little bit into Scandinavia and how they're influenced by nature and their surroundings, as we should be as well. And the tulips are here because these are called Tulpenvasen, or tulip vases, because they represent the life cycle of the tulip. They're stylized versions of these guys. I've been asked to smell flowers. I don't smell flowers. Stay tuned, fasten your seatbelts, and enjoy. AmuseSpot's name itself stands for finding your muse or being amused. Either way, it's the same derivation, and it's all about finding inspiration in your life and passion beyond the bedroom, I would say. I went to the grocery store to pick up some tulips because we're talking about Tulpenvasen, which everybody talks about on a Sunday afternoon. And I found this, and I'm outraged. It's springtime. Springtime is a time when hundreds of thousands of small, adorable marshmallow bunnies get eaten instead of being allowed to grow up to become Technicolor s'mores. Let's do something about this. My eyes on you, Kellogg's and Just Born. Shameless consumerism, and tasty too. I find that glass is completely unforgiving as a medium. And the really cool part about this is really good glass blowing like this. This is masterwork, I would say. A true master can make a really good piece look like a piece of junk, whereas a not true master always makes pieces of junk. We're retailers at Costa Boda. They're a Swedish glass firm. Sweden is part of Scandinavia, and Scandinavia is made up of 3 countries, but I always add in Finland. You got Norway, you got Sweden, you got Denmark. They share a common background, that sort of thing. Do-waka-do.
I hear tell you're doing well, good things have come to you. I wish I had your happiness, and you had to do.
In order to blow glass, you need a lot of raw materials. It's high heat stuff. One of the really amazing things that ties all these Scandinavian countries together is that they are surrounded by nature and they appreciate nature, which makes sense. So we talked a little bit about in another video about bringing nature into the household. We tend to be disassociated with the earth, and it's about as far as hippie as I'm going to go. But we are inspired by nature. There's no question. So we bring that into the household to make things a little bit more livable, shall we say, and more beautiful as well. So when you look at Scandinavian design, you will often see what is maybe minimalist, meaning there's very little detail involved. But generally what they do is they design things based upon what they see around them. So some designers would focus on ice and how ice appears in glass and make glass that looks like ice or ice flows. And I've always been very intrigued by that sort of ability where you're so influenced by your surroundings and inspired by your surroundings that actually comes out in something as functional as a glass. But I want to talk a little bit about these, which are by Costa, and these, which are by Orifors, another Swedish firm. One of the things that I want to talk about is design elements and design movements. And I'm going to go into it really, really briefly, but this is considered Art Nouveau. Now, Art Nouveau and all these design movements are a great thing for sociologists to begin and art critics to write their PhD doctrines on. And reality is there isn't one person involved in all these things. It's kind of like we're sort of a hive mind. Art Nouveau came around at the end of the 19th century. Around 1880, 1885, you've begun this whole thing where we're becoming involved with naturalist themes. And so these are not typical Art Nouveau pieces in terms of this kind of wonderful, ornate, flowing interpretation of life and nature. These are more almost direct interpretations of organisms themselves. And so if you look at these are cameo pieces, meaning that they're two colors of glass, an underlying glass. There could be more colors too, and then an overlying glass. And you cut back this stuff. You can engrave it. These are all carved by hand. I'm not quite sure about this one. This one looks like it's probably been sandblasted to remove the outside layer. But you can see like there is this, especially in this one. These are jellyfish, which makes sense. If you're in Scandinavia, you're probably running into jellyfish once in a while. Not walking down the street, but maybe when you're on the beach. So what you can see though is there's this gorgeous sense of movement in the leaves of this flower. And I believe, yeah, this is a clear base with a white. And there you go, it's signed on the bottom. This other one is a little bit different, and I'm not quite sure which one predates. I think it's irrelevant, but I think it's another really good, inspired by nature. Here you have, once again, this acid etching, but this is the sea. And then you see this stylized sort of movement of the waves and the ocean as these little jellyfish sort of roll around in there and move. So there's a sense of movement in here too. And so these are clearly influenced by the surroundings in Sweden and produced in that sort of manner. And so also at the bottom, it's also signed. And these are fairly rare, but they're really wonderful. As we went on into the modern era, we began to look at things in terms of modernism and mid-century modernism. And once again, you're looking at these statements that really don't make a lot of sense. Mid-century modernism suggests that it's the mid 20th century and it's this, it's modern. And from what I can tell, in my opinion, modernism started about 1850 when we began to really learn how to kill each other a lot better in the Civil War. I think was a big movement towards modernism, mechanization, interpretation, and basically the shock of mass death versus how wars used to be fought. I do believe that every period of stress and change comes out in terms of art. So, for example, in the conservative time period of Reagan, you had punk all of a sudden appear. And we're beginning to see, after the COVID, finally, we're beginning to see some really interesting design pop up here and there, even though it's very expensive now for young designers to produce and promote their own work. Now, these are considered classic designs. These were made in the 1950s and 1960s. They're in all the books. These were designed by Niels Landberg. And Niels worked for Orifors, and these are called Tulpenvasen. A Tulpenvase sounds exactly what it is. It's a tulip vase. It's not to be confused with the Dutch tulip vases. And if you ever look at these lovely photos of their tulip farms, I mean, it's amazing to see them all in bloom. It's just a colored patchwork. And the wonderful thing about these is they're great as a grouping, but these are representative of this flower, similar flowers, and this is the life cycle of this flower interpreted. So if you look at these, we're missing one of the series, and they're all different. They're all different heights, all different colors. They're just really cool in a series. So if you look at this one is when it's just starting to come out. It's a bud. Here you have the bud opening, and here you have the bud open. Now there's another part of these that has these very, very open. It's almost like a bowl, like a compote. But I don't have one of those, so unfortunately. But there are so many variations of these that they're a lot of fun to collect, and they're gorgeous in a series. And then as the tulip dies, if you ever look at tulips or daffodils or any of these bulb flowers, you'll see the stamen that's left over. Or is it the pistil? I think it's the stamen left over at the end. And it's just this little hard thing that's left over after all the petals fall off. The flower series here was produced between about 1950 some and 1960 some. It was extremely popular. Strangely enough, they tried to do this with a more cylindrical form of flowers, and it failed. So they kept producing these, and they were very, very popular, as you can tell. They're damn cool. Each one is fairly unique, and they look great in the series. They look beautiful with the light coming through them. They are not as functional as you want them to be. These obviously are not going to be tremendously functional because there is no place to stick your flower, really. Um, so you can use some of these. On the other hand, I think it's a sculptural interpretation of a flower, and they're great. I just love them. They're all signed on the bottom, um, Orphors and Expo and all that other stuff. And usually there's a year involved with those too. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed them as much as I do. But I also love this because this is the beginning of looking at glass as a canvas, whereas this is looking at glass as a form. And they're both wonderful things. So one thing I'd like to say, though, if I haven't said enough already, is that when you're studying these things or you like something, don't worry about what it's called. Okay? It doesn't make any sense. Don't limit yourself to names. Mid-century modern means absolutely nothing outside of the people that actually do it, that look at it, and this is what, and you're limiting yourself to a very, very small subset of design. Um, and sure, if that's your gig, that's great. But don't be intimidated by these names. If you like a wine, drink that wine. Who gives a damn? Enjoy yourself. Life is short. So here, don't look at this as mid-century modern stuff. Look at these as damn cool glasses, If you like this stuff and like these vases, stick them in your house and enjoy them for a while. Watch the light go through them. Because that's really what they're there for. They're there to enjoy. They're not really there to gloat. That's not a really good place to be, and it only lasts so long. So enjoy, make some good decisions about what you're acquiring and what you're putting in your life, and experience as much as you can. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. It's almost spring. And so what happens in spring? Of course, I went to the store and they're making Peeps cereal. Now, I firmly believe that this is like one of the worst things that could occur to chickens. Hi, we're trying to make a dumb joke about chickens. I mean, bunnies. Have a great day.
The throw is horrible.
Let me try it again. Do not cut that and put that in that thing. I will kill you. I'm very confused. These are chicks and bunnies. This is double the tragedy. So I mean, these guys need to be able to grow up and become Technicolor s'mores. Chicks and bunnies. Disgraceful. Eat 'em up. Yum. Anyway.